Hello and welcome to my Warden Kite Healer build for Cloudrest. Let's go over which sets I am using. I am running Symphony of Blades as my monster helm. I am using medium and heavy for the 5/1/1 passive from Undaunted. Undaunted Metal, increase your max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% per type of armor, heavy, medium, light that you have equipped. Current bonus 6%. That gives me extra resources of all types, which is very handy to have. I am running 5-piece Olorine on my back bar and 5-piece Worm Cult on my body. I am using 3 Swift Jewelry with 2 Magicka Recovery and 1 Spell Damage Glyphs. All of my armor is enchanted with maximum Magicka. I am using 4 Divine Small Pieces and 2 Infused Large Pieces. I have an Infused Shock Glyph on my Lightning Staff and a Powered Weapon Damage enchantment on my Resto Staff. I am using the Master's Restoration Staff for the magicka and stamina that it returns when I use Grand Healing or its morphs. Let's go over the skills I use. I use Combat Prayer, primarily for the Minor Berserk, which increases your allies' damage done by 8%. It will give this to 6 people total per cast at random. It also grants them Minor Resolve, increasing their physical and spell resistance by 1320. Both of these are for 8 seconds. So it is a good buff for the group. It is also a good burst heal, so I will often use it as that throughout the fight when I'm on my front bar as well. Illustrious Healing is a strong hot that I can place on the group. It heals for nearly 2,000 every second for 12 seconds, as well as proccing the Grand Rejuvenation set, the Master Resto. So when I place it, all allies in the circle are affected and restore 100 magicka and stamina per second. That is very nice. It's 200 recovery for both resources, if I proc it every 4 seconds, which I don't. But the third skill I use is Energy Orb, which is 1100 health every half second. So note that. That's 2200 every second. So very strong hot. And an ally near the orb can activate the Healing Combustion synergy, which heals allies around them for 700 health. So it is a very strong burst when activated, but more importantly, nearly 400 magicka and stamina to the ally, and all allies can activate this synergy. So it is a strong hot, and it restores magicka or stamina, whichever is higher, to whoever pops the synergy. Dual purpose, strong skill. My 4th skill is Radiating Regeneration, which heals up to 3 allies for 20k health over 10 seconds. So that's about 2k per second for 3 allies. And this one is nice because it moves with whoever it is on, so they do not need to stand in a hot, so it is very good for transitions, or for on myself when I'm running to pick up shards or kiting Crushing Darkness. I really like this skill for Cloudrest. My 5th skill on my front bar is Fetcher Infection. This is not a healing skill, instead it is a debuff for enemies. The Fetcher flies rip through the enemy's flesh, affecting them with minor vulnerability for the duration, increasing their damage taken by 8%. Minor Vuln is a very strong debuff, and should be kept as near to 100 as is possible. So in order to do that, we run a Warden with this skill. The reason it is on my front bar is because of an animal companion's passive. Flourish. Increase your magicka and stamina recovery by 12% if an animal companion's ability is slotted. This is an animal companion ability, so my magicka and stamina recovery are increased by 12% while on my front bar. My ultimate is Reviving Barrier. This is primarily for the support passive Magicka Aid. Increases your magicka recovery by 10% for each support ability slotted. So I have 22% extra magicka recovery on my front bar, which is very nice. I have Reviving Barrier. I forgot I had the wrong morph and had to remorph it recently, so it's not leveled up yet. But I have it because it's a good damage shield for the group. It goes on 12 players, but it also heals them for 17k health over 15 seconds. That will go up as I level it up. So a strong heal and a strong shield. So it is a very good defensive ultimate, though I primarily use it passively for the recovery. On my back bar, I have Enchanted Growth, which is primarily here for the burst heal. It is a nearly 8k burst, which is quite strong. But it is also a nice buff for the group, as it grants minor intellect and minor endurance for 20 seconds, increasing their magicka and stamina recovery by 10%. The next skill on my back bar is Budding Seeds, which is a hot. It heals for 1300 every 1 second. And it also, which is the main reason it is on my bar, has a synergy, the Harvest Synergy, which heals the ally who activates it for 11,000 health over 5 seconds. It also does a nice burst of 11,000 when it expires or when you recast it, but we typically do not recast it. Just wait for it to expire and cast it again. A nice strong skill. The reason I have Budding Seeds rather than the other morph, Corrupting Pollen, is because I like to have the extra heals, especially in Cloudrest, and I typically place it on the group in Cloudrest, as typically one tank is going to be in the group, whether it is or near the group. Whether it is the mini tank or one of the main tanks, somebody will be near the group, so I can typically place it over the tank and over the group, which is very nice. And when the tank doesn't need the synergy, I can just place it over the group. Corrupting Pollen, you can recast it instantly without worrying about the double cast bullshit that's on this. But the downside is that it doesn't have the hot, which I do like for Cloudrest. The third skill on my back bar is Expansive Frostcloak, which grants Major Resolve, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 200 for 20 seconds. This affects you and everyone in the group up to 28 meters radius. And I have Expansive Frostcloak and not the other morph is because the other morph, while it gives you minor protection, which is very nice, it only has an 8-meter radius, so isn't very viable for groups that might be spread out, as happens in Cloudrest. Especially as Kite Healer, you are unlikely to be near enough the group for that to work. The fourth skill I have here is Bone Search, which is a 5.4k damage shield for yourself, but more importantly, An ally near you can activate the Spinal Surge synergy, granting the ally and up to 5 other allies a damage shield that absorbs up to 30% of their max health for 6 seconds. And the most important part, Major Vitality, increasing their healing received by 30%. This is amazing for healing through Baneful Marks, because Baneful Mark is a huge healing reduction. So having the healing received increased by 30% for 6 allies is huge. The last skill on my bar here is Overflowing Altar, which applies lifesteal to enemies in the area, and the area is 28 meters. So it basically covers the whole arena. So it heals for nearly 1k health every second for anyone damaging anything, essentially. But the more important part of this is the synergy, which is the Blood Feast synergy, healing the ally for 65% of their max health. This can pop a tank with Baneful from low to pretty much full. Or anyone with Baneful, but you typically want a couple altars in group for Cloudrest. The last skill I have is Aggressive Horn, which is the strongest offensive alt for support. It increases you and your group's max magicka and max stamina by 10% for 30 seconds, and grants them Major Force, increasing their critical damage by 15% for 10 seconds. You want to be using this as close to Force cooldown as possible, but at minimum, Horn cooldown. Let's go over some of the skills I don't have on my bar. I do not have Deceptive Predator. Why don't I have Deceptive Predator? That is because with 3 Swift Jewelry, I am fast enough to grab shards and Kite Crushing without worrying about Major Expedition from Deceptive Predator. I would run it, but I do not have bar space, as I need all of the skills on my bar. I am not running Ellie Drain. Why am I not running Ellie Drain? Well, the tanks typically run Ellie Drain in most of the groups I run with, and having an extra Ellie Drain when there are already 3 Ellie Drains in group is pretty pointless, in my opinion. If your group does want you to run Ellie Drain, I would drop Altar for it, and have another support run Altar instead. I am not running Harness Magicka. That is because if I need a shield, I use Bone Surge. But mostly, I keep myself topped up with Radiating Regen and burst myself with either Enchanted Growth or Combat Prayer, depending on what bar I am on. I have the Ritual Mundus. I am a vampire. And I am using Bewitched Sugar Skulls, which increases max health, max magicka, and max stamina, and your health recovery. The reason I use this rather than our Tame Pickled Fishbowl is because 17k health without Warden buffs or Eben is enough to survive, and 15k stam is very useful when roll dodging across the room and breaking free from things. It allows you more time to roll, more roll dodges and break frees, which is very handy to have. It can save your life. The CP I am using is from ESOU. It is 66 Ironclad, 55 Spell Shield, 66 Thick Skin, 64 Elemental Defender, 19 Quick Recovery, 56 Warlord, 33 Sprinter, 64 Arcanist, 10 Tenacity, 56 Tumbling, and 51 Shatter Ward. For blue CP, I have a very healing focus CP. It is 76 Blessed, which is the highest I would ever go, 61 Elfborn, 37 Elemental Expert, 17 Spell Erosion, 31 Staff Expert, 20 Master at Arms, and 28 Thaumaturge. Is a run I did, just a random farm run. Here's the video from it. So I start off in group before 80%, just doing some healing, some buffing, some normal stuff. Trying to keep all my buffs up, though I'm not the best at it, I admit. Kiting the first crushing, I put a bone shield up and made sure radiating regen was on me, and stayed just out of group to kite it. We're going to be stacking Soria. I did not grab that ice, because I try not to grab ice if possible. It's just about survivability. That spear was desynced. I don't have to grab this one, but I choose to because I was on my way when the boss started porting. I am out plenty fast enough to cast crushing. I need to get better at my orb placement. I tend to throw them slightly too far from group and recast them too early. Need to get better at that. I try to stay close enough to group to buff and debuff while being able to catch crushing. And then I do a sort of semicircle around the group while kiting it. Switch to my back bar at the last second. I can stay on my bar for about 2 seconds before swapping, so I cast my buffs. Notice how I use Combat Prayer and Enchanted Growth as bursts on myself frequently. I slightly farther back than should be, but I was out of group. That shard there I could have let the tank grab, and I grabbed that one on my wrong bar, so Olerim got badly placed. Keep a shield up. Sure I'm on the right bar for Voltaic, and run to the back of the group, so I'm the farthest person away from the tail. Roll that so I don't get pushed back. Voltaic again. I spam a lot of radiating when I don't have anything else to do, or while I'm running, because it only goes to 3 people. So if I use it more often, I'll get it on more people. Creeper's up now. Could have put some debuffs on the creeper there, but I didn't. And that stupid fallen thing blocked my way for a second. That could have been bad. And the tank's not grabbing that, so I did. Always position yourself so you're the farthest one from the tail. The tail is how it determines who gets crushing. Orb charged. Oh, this is hairy. But I'm spamming enchanted growth. That's my burst. And I survived it. That's a useless orb mostly, because it's too far from group. This run's pretty messy, but I just wanted to show you guys an average run, not a perfect run, and how I do kiting. How much heals I put on myself while running to spears depends on how much I'm taking damage. If I'm not taking damage, I'll just do 1 radiating while I run. If I'm taking a lot, I'll do a couple and a couple bursts as I go. Nearly ready to stack the mini on that. There, I grabbed the crushing. Why not? Or not the crushing, the hoarfrost. It's the last one. It's good. And the last mini is down. Crushing came close to group, but not into it, so it's good.